Mr. Holgram, let's start with you. If confirmed, you would be the principal intelligence advisor to the Secretary and to other State Department principals. You would be charged with driving the intelligence apparatus, advising the Secretary of State on the risks and the benefits of reentering any nuclear deal with Iran. I want to ask you about that. One of the most troubling aspects of the catastrophic Obama-Iran nuclear deal were the enormous holes in verifying Iranian compliance. Some of those holes were obvious, such as giving Iran weeks to clean up sites before inspections and functionally prohibiting inspection of military facilities. Others were less obvious but even more damaging. One side deal forced the IAEA, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, to prematurely close investigations into past Iranian nuclear weapons work, leaving the scope and the nature of Iran's weapons program unknown. According to Bloomberg, the Obama administration provided Congress with a classified annex saying that the deal could still be verified if Iran fully complied and didn't cheat. Today we know, of course, the deal failed to detect vast portions of Iran's nuclear weapons program. We know it because of daring raids and revelations by our Israeli allies. We know that between the implementation of the deal in January 26 to May 2018, the IAEA was not aware that Iran was concealing a nuclear weapons archive. Nor was the IAEA aware that Iran had containers at a warehouse called Turkozbad, where the IAEA later reportedly discovered traces of man-altered uranium. The agency subsequently visited 3 other undisclosed sites and found nuclear material at 2 of them. The IAEA has never inspected any facility run by the SPND, a military organization employing nuclear weapons scientists, which until last year was run by the founder of Iran's nuclear weapons program. That's unknown sites and 0 military facilities inspected. Despite all of this, the Biden administration is rushing to re-enter the Iran deal. Mr. Holgram, do you support re-entering the deal in light of those failures?
Senator Cruz, thank you for that question. As a former intelligence analyst who focused on the Middle East, I very much appreciate the multidimensional threat that Iran poses, their state sponsorship of terrorism, their nuclear ambitions, cyber human rights violations, and their ballistic missile capabilities. So I very much appreciate the threat. If confirmed to lead INR, which is what part of the intelligence community, my commitment to you and to this entire committee is that we will supply objective information and analysis regarding all of Iran's malign activities, to include its compliance with the nuclear requirements as part of the JCPOA, even if those conclusions diverge from policy interests, but especially, because I think it's even more important if the intelligence community has a different view based on all sorts of information of where policymakers are, that we would absolutely provide that information to support the Secretary, but also other policymakers as well as this committee.
In your assessment, what additional measures would be required to close the loopholes that allowed these failures in the prior deal?
Senator, I'm not privy to I haven't been in government the last few years, so I'm not privy to any classified details and additional measures, but what I could tell you is that from an intelligence perspective, I think having an incredibly strong collection and analytic regime focused on Iran's compliance certainly would be a top priority. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, I view Iran as one of the top big 4 threats we face, and so making sure that INR has the resources and the expertise to provide objective analysis would absolutely be a priority for me, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Crittenbrink, the Obama administration implemented a policy that forbade our Taiwanese allies from displaying symbols of their sovereignty, whether flags or medals or uniforms, on U.S. soil. During the Trump administration, I pressed the Trump administration to change that policy to reverse the ban and they did so. Unfortunately, after Secretary Blinken came through his confirmation hearing where I asked him about it, and he committed to maintaining the policy of allowing Taiwan to display its symbols of sovereignty, subsequently the Biden State Department reversed that policy and now prohibits our Taiwanese allies from displaying their symbols of sovereignty. This committee just a few weeks ago took up legislation I had to reverse the new Biden ban and to return to the pre-existing policy that allowed Taiwan, like our other allies, to display their symbols of sovereignty. This committee passed that overwhelmingly. The Senate passed it overwhelmingly in a bipartisan manner. If confirmed, will you restore the previous policy allowing our Taiwanese allies to display their symbols of sovereignty? And if not, why not?
Senator, thank you very much for the question. I want to emphasize at the outset, Senator, if confirmed, I would be absolutely committed to growing our robust and vitally important partnership with democratic Taiwan. I would argue that our partnership with Taiwan is perhaps stronger than it's ever been from our commitments demonstrated under the Taiwan Relations Act, including $30 billion in arms sales since 2009, to the provision of vaccines, to our close health cooperation, to the visit by 3 members of the Senate in just the last few weeks. I think we've made clear our commitment to growing that partnership with Taiwan. Senator, since 1979, for decades now, the United States has followed a set of contact guidelines for our engagement with Taiwan. And my understanding, Senator, is for decades now, those guidelines have outlined that during our important engagements with our our Taiwan counterparts to advance our unofficial relationship, that symbols of sovereignty are not allowed on U.S. government property. And those guidelines, as I understand them, Senator, have been in place for decades and were in place for the vast majority of the previous administration as well. Based on the briefings and discussions that I've had, Senator, the new guidelines that have been enacted under the Biden administration are significantly liberalized. They are explicitly designed to further develop our relationships and our partnership with Taiwan, and they have been welcomed by the Taiwan leadership, including President Tsai herself. So I can assure you, Senator, that I am committed in every way to growing our partnership with Taiwan, and I will hasten to add that, of course, I will always enforce U.S. law.
Thank you.
Thank you.